As part of my Recognizing Languages series, this is how to recognize East Asian scripts, mostly Korean, Japanese, and Chinese. Here are 4 excerpts from various news articles in the 3 languages, Korean, Japanese, and Chinese. At first glance, one of these stands out a lot from the others. That's number 4. Number 4 is written in Korean. The Korean language is currently written with the Hangul script. Has lots of circles, and also this E, the circle is the N sound, the E is T sound, and these horizontal and vertical lines represent vowels. So Hangul script is a phonetic system. Each part of this character represents a certain phoneme, a certain sound. The Hangul script was developed in 1443 as a simplification in the writing system. Before then, Korea used the Chinese writing script, but Chinese characters didn't really fit the way the Korean language worked, so they developed their own writing system. So number 4 is written in Korean in the Hangul script specifically, and sometimes you'll see Chinese characters mixed in with the Hangul script, like place names, proper names sometimes. Next, we're going to learn to distinguish Japanese. Japanese, we're going to look for hiragana and katakana. There are 2 phonetic writing systems of Japanese. They're not alphabets, because each character does not represent a letter, a phoneme. Each character represents a syllable, so it's called a syllabary. And this character is ka, K-A, ka. Hiragana was developed around the 8th century during the Heian area as a kind of shorthand that was mostly used by women in the courts who didn't have the same education opportunities as men. When the Chinese writing system was introduced into Japan, scholars learned Chinese and they would write to each other in Chinese. Hiragana was really the first attempt to adapt Chinese to a Japanese language system. It was developed by simplifying the cursive style of Chinese, and here's an example here. It's phonetic, it was very easy for women to learn. Great books such as The Tale of Genji were written almost entirely out of hiragana. The second syllabary is katakana. It was developed later by Buddhist monks to be used as a shorthand. Here's a sample here. It's a lot more blocky. The way I think of it is hiragana looks like it could be written by a brush, and katakana looks more like something you'd write with a pen. Today, hiragana and katakana are both used with Chinese characters called kanji in Japanese. Hiragana usually serves a grammatical function, although many words are written in hiragana, and children learn hiragana first. So hiragana is used for particles, for verb endings, because Chinese doesn't handle verbs the same, because Chinese doesn't conjugate verbs the same way that Japanese has verb conjugation. Katakana is used as italics and also for foreign words. Back to the 3 excerpts we have left. Give you a moment, see if you can see which one is Japanese. I've highlighted the hiragana in this excerpt. I actually don't have any katakana here, but it's really common to see katakana in Japanese writing as well. So number 2 is in Japanese. Step 3 is distinguishing between simplified and traditional Chinese. Chinese has 2 main spoken languages, Mandarin and Cantonese. There are many languages in Chinese, dialects and so forth, but the 2 big players are Mandarin and Cantonese. Mandarin is the official language of mainland China and Taiwan. Cantonese is what you'll hear most often if you go to Hong Kong. And there are 2 writing systems currently in use, simplified and traditional. So Hong Kong and Taiwan still use traditional characters, but in 1956 there was a big push from the government to increase literacy rates in mainland China, so they simplified characters and they took out obsolete characters. They made characters that were in common usage much easier to write, much easier to memorize, to increase the literacy. Chinese is interesting because it's not phonetic. Each character does not represent a specific sound, but rather an idea, a word. So you can have Mandarin and Cantonese which sound completely different reading the same text. and getting the same meaning from a text, even though they pronounce it differently. So Hong Kong, Taiwan use traditional characters, mainland China uses simplified. Here are some examples of simplified versus traditional characters. As you can see in this word Mandarin, much simpler here on the left than on the right. And this radical here for to speak is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strokes in traditional and 1, 2 in simplified. Simplified's a lot easier to write as well as to learn. Cantonese here on the left looks almost empty. The simplified characters take out a lot of radicals, which are parts of the character that carry meaning. It can be difficult sometimes for people to make the switch from traditional to simplified, as in this example, the word love. So this heart, you can see in traditional characters, is here in the center radical, but simplified characters take the heart out of love. And so some people are really strong about wanting to keep traditional characters. Here's some more examples of very common characters. You'll be able to tell simplified versus traditional. And you have one line here where you'd have 3 here. This computer is much more simple in the top. And of course gates, a lot simpler to look at. This is an example of a text from one of the news articles I took from Simplified and put it into Google Translate to change to traditional characters. So as you can see, there are just a few differences. This character is the same, that one's the same, and this one is quite different, much simpler. So if you're trying to distinguish the difference between simplified and traditional, look for large empty characters like this one. And also the Greek radical is quite common. I don't have an example of this one, but you'll see in the next slide. And traditional just looks messier. So that are 2 samples. See if you can tell the difference between the simplified and traditional writing. If you guessed that 3 is simplified, you are correct. You see this character here, very simple, and here's your speak radical, 1, 2, versus the 7 in this character here. These are the sources for the news excerpt. So now you can tell the difference between simplified and traditional Chinese writing systems, as well as Japanese and Korean. Thank you for watching, and feel free to comment below.